Hello, I'm your host, Ron Whitlock. Welcome to the program. Now, Bill Summers, a longtime sponsor for about 9 years of the program. Welcome to our program. We're going to tell you a lot about what the Rio Grande Valley Partnership is doing to prepare primarily for the next legislative session in January. That's what you've always got to do, right, Bill?
Right.
Get ready, get everything pretty well in line, get all the bills prepared, get everybody educated so when the session happens, you're able to go to Austin and make things happen.
Right.
The last two programs that you've watched here on News Channel 5 and or the website ronwhitlock.com, we have had the coverage whittled down 5 hours of hearing on the border wall and on immigration that was held by Raul Grijalva, who was the chairman of that committee, congressman from Arizona. A hearing that was held at UTB-TSC in Brownsville recently talking about the pros and cons of the border wall, whether or not the Bush administration should get all the waivers of the environmental laws, that sort of thing. And we asked Bill to review and kind of look up on what they had said while here, both pro and con. What did you get out of it, Bill, after having reviewed those who really are opposed to the wall, like you at the partnership and others in the valley are, and those like Tancredo, the congressman from Colorado, and others who came in with a totally different perspective?
Well, first of all, the hearings were supposed to be field hearings. They were supposed to go to a place which would be affected by this wall, but they let very little amounts of people talk. I know that Senator Eddie Lucio was not allowed to speak, or any of our state representatives. And I think, just like every time they have a hearing, they come with prepared speeches to get their 2 minutes on TV, and then they don't say a darn thing. And I don't think they listen, or they don't see the needs that we have. I think I'm real proud of Congressman Ortiz. He spoke up. He's totally against this wall, as we are. It just doesn't make any sense. Why can't they just give us more border patrolmen? The people trying to come over to get a job are going to put holes in the fence. They're going to climb over the fence. It's going to be a mess. And I cannot understand why George Bush, who is from Texas, is letting that man called Chernoff, I have another name for him, why he's letting him go through with all this stuff. That man don't know what he's talking about.
He's come to the valley on a couple of occasions, to Laredo on 3 occasions, and really doesn't seem interested in trying to find out more about why people are opposed to it. He basically says, get your act together, don't be so selfish, and just let it happen.
Yeah. And I don't know how he qualifies to be in this position he's in, because he don't listen to the human beings. He don't listen to the people on the ground that know what's going on, what needs to go on. What we need to get this job done is a group of people from the other side of the border, businessmen and a few politicians, and businessmen from this side of the border. We need to sit down on a round table like this, and we need to discuss how can we better our problems down here, and it's not with the wall.
Bill, in that particular regard, I looked at the transcripts from one of the last 2 programs, and Silvestre Reyes, who was the chief of the Border Patrol for the Rio Grande Valley, all the way from Brownsville, almost all the way up to Laredo, the man who was in charge of it before he retired from the U.S. Border Patrol, moved to El Paso, now is the most powerful Democrat congressman in the entire state of Texas. He came to the hearing, and he made the same basic observation, Bill. He said that I, Silvestre Reyes of El Paso, congressman, I believe very strongly that we'd be better off by working with the Mexican government and working towards a solution where we can both, the United States and Mexico, co-manage the border.
Amen.
Co-manage the border.
Right.
Install the old traditional checkpoints.
That's right.
Cerrito and Encino to the north, about 35, 40 miles inland in the United States. On the Mexican side, go about 25 miles inland. That's when you really got to get serious about your paperwork. That's what's always been the vibrant economic aspects of the border region, because the real checkpoints were inland, and there was really not a border.
That's right.
As the Rio Grande or any place else.
That's right. And
why can't we go back to that, Bill? Because somebody thought that it was working very fine.
It worked good
at the time.
I think a lot of things have changed, And we got some crazy people in Washington that don't know what's going on. And I hate to say that about some of my friends up there, but that's what it's like, you know. I just can't understand it. Look at the problems with the fuel. That's Congress's fault. Nobody else's fault. Not the president's fault, not the oil company's fault. It's the Congress's fault.
By
And
failing to act.
By failing to
By
act.
failing to build refineries, by increasing the production and exploration of petrochemicals
In the United States. We don't, you know, there's enough all around here for the United States for us to use our own oil. And we could deal more with Mexico and use some more of their oil, but I don't know what's the matter.
Well, you were talking about something that Glenn Beck had mentioned on KURV last week, and that was if we were to open up utilization and conversion of the coal that we have in our nation, have giant deposits of coal in many states in the Union,
Right.
convert that into oil at $30 a barrel.
Right. Very.
And that is a real number?
Yes, and that would really be nice. It'd bring
That's
gas.
a question. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm looking at $100 plus oil and
100
be able to get it for $30 a barrel.
$133 today.
If you were going to convert that coal actually into oil.
It makes me sick. I'm going to have to start walking to work. And that's from Alamo to Weslaco. I'm going to get skinny.
Now, Tom Tancredo, who is a renowned anti-immigration, pro-construction border wall congressman who ran for the Republican presidential nomination, he said at the hearing in Brownsville, in the 1990s we used fencing to secure the high-volume corridor in San Diego and El Paso. The resulting shift of illegal alien activity in those areas without fencing is now threatening because they built border walls in those areas. They just shifted to where there was not border walls.
Right.
And he's claiming that it's destroying the fragile wildlife refuges and the treasured natural monuments in that general area. Your reaction to
Well, I think that, you know, that wall's not working. They show pictures all the time on TV of people climbing over it. And then the people running through the bridges, you know, 10, 20 at a time running through the bridges, running and getting, becoming part of the United States just by running with their hearts wide open, man.
And the national media reports that there have been 300 tunnels dug under the San Diego fence
Right.
that he's touting there. Now, one of the things, Bill, that Tancredo commented in the valley was to the people basically in the audience who were booing and hissing his remarks
Right.
being pro-wall, his reaction and comment was, okay, why don't you build it on the northern side of Brownsville or somewhat
Yeah.
further north? Your reaction to that and basically cede Brownsville to Mexico. Your reaction?
You know what? He's not smart at all. That's a stupid remark. And Brownsville is a very, very important city in the Rio Grande Valley in the United States. And why don't they go build a wall around his house? And so he can't come out and say those things. He's unreasonable. He shouldn't be in Congress.
Immigration was also brought up to a degree during the border wall hearing held at UTV-TSC, and also after the fact, you and I both attended the Texas Employers for Immigration Reform meeting held in McAllen
Right.
recently.
Right.
I got a lot out of that, Bill. What did you get out of that more than anything else?
The main thing is the businessmen are finally acting, not just here in the Valley, but throughout Texas, to try to find a way to get some workers over to the United States legally to work over, you know, like the Obracero program, but
Yeah.
not just farm workers, all kinds of workers that we need, you know, to work in homes, to work in businesses, retail. If the federal government will allow us to have our own ideas and own way about it, then we can make a deal and we could have people coming over here working, spending their money over here, leaving their Social Security money over here. You know, there's almost $37 billion in the Social Security fund that illegal people have put in through the years and they will never get it back. So there's a lot of advantages of those people being over here, but we do need to do it legally, and the businessmen in Texas are trying to do something about it. And what we're going to do is then go to our state legislature and see if they can put the pressure on Washington to let us to leave us alone. Let us do this on our own.
What are your members of the Rio Grande Valley Partnership telling you, such as McDonald's, who now has billboards, giant billboards up and down Expressway 83 saying now hiring? Everywhere you go, in the ag business, in the construction business, in the fast food business, everybody looking for people to employ, and it's because of the crackdown on people coming across.
Right. It's. I know our board members and the people in our membership, they need the workers. How are we going to grow if we don't have workers to take care of the growth? You know, and these people, it's just like people were complaining about the maquilas several years ago, all the wages going to the people over there. But they spent back there 10 years ago, they spent 17% of their wages over here in the Rio Grande Valley. So we have benefited so much here along the valley with NAFTA and illegal, immigrants from Mexico that can help us do our job and can help us do the job we can't do. And we need to find a way to bring them over here.
The only time that I can remember a bad economic situation was during the time just after building KW Radio and the Fort Brown Hotel in Brownsville, and they had the first major peso devaluation back in the 70s. We got 10, 12 cancellations for advertising at that time, and Ray Alexander said KRGV had the same problem. And he said, why are they canceling? This is affecting Mexico. He didn't really totally understand what the rationale was, but the fact of the matter is, the Valley's economy, and therefore the state of Texas and the national economy, is impacted on when Mexico sneezes, we get a cold.
That's right.
On this side of the border.
That's right. And let me tell you something. That place where your office was, your radio station was, if the fence is built, it's going to be outside the fence on the
ceded to Mexico.
Right. Yes.
So the actual fort where Jacob Brown died, protected that fort. That's going to be ceded back historically now to the Mexican
just like
nation.
Like Rio Rico. Remember, Rio Rico used to be on the United States. Now it's over in Mexico because of the change of the river. And I think these guys are violating some of the Treaty of 44 and the Treaty of 1970 when they're trying to do things with this fence.
Now, one of the things I got out of the meeting held at the McAllen Convention Center by the Texas Employers for Immigration Reform, if you're in business, you need to be a member of the Valley Partnership, because the Valley Partnership under Bill's work is going to Austin, going to Washington, D.C., working toward immigration reform, working toward trying to stop construction of the border wall. But in addition to that, they have an organization, TEIR, you can Google it, find out more about them, because they also are moving predominantly at the nation's capital, trying to get sane immigration reform, guest worker, which is Senator John Cornyn's initiative, try to get those things done. But they also say that most of the congressmen that they visit with are aware of the need for workers, but there's no advocation and no advocates in large numbers emailing them saying we're for it. There's just not enough actual weight in emails, letters, cards, and all of that sort of thing to counterbalance the Lou Dobbs, the Bill O'Reillys, the Glenn Becks, and others who are pro-border wall and anti-immigration.
You know, I think, after a while you get tired. And I think people are tired of fighting. I hope they get revigorated, but it is tiresome having to put up with some of the things going on in Washington all the time. And the people in the Valley have been thrown curves all the 60-something years I've been here, and we've had to just dig at them, and it feels like we take 10 steps forward, and then we have to take a couple sideways to take care of junk like this. It's just a shame.
We just got rid of Bill Summers. He's off the set here. We're taping, by the way, at the Rio Grande Valley Partnership in downtown Weslaco. Joining us at the round table, Elizabeth Walker, Executive Vice President, and Bill's right-hand woman. But she definitely is the right hand for the President and CEO of the Rio Grande Valley Partnership. Now, Elizabeth, one of the things that you do every year pulls your hair out, and Bill has already pulled all his out, planning and orchestrating the visit of all the senators and state representatives who come down during the legislative tour at the beginning month of every legislative session. Now, that's coming out next year, of course, 2009, and you're planning and working on doing that done right now. And why is that so important? And why are sponsorships so important for that particular event?
Thank you so much for asking. This is an extraordinary opportunity for our state delegation to feel the issues of the Rio Grande Valley firsthand. So it's imperative we bring them here so they have that experience. They get to know the issues as we know them.
Hands-on.
Exactly. And of course, sponsorships are so important in that process because
Can't do it otherwise.
no.
Very expensive to fly down.
Yes.
All those senators and state representatives,
Yes.
putting them up,
It's 4
entertaining them
days.
during that whole period of time.
It's 4 days. Every state legislator is invited, so both the representatives as well as the senators and their guest of choice. So you can imagine that becomes quite an entourage.
Undoubtedly, Elizabeth, in my opinion, having gone and been with these representatives and senators, both of the last, from bell to bell, the last two trips that they made down, I was on the bus with them, spent all the time with them, and some of my staff has also likewise done that. And I have seen them come in with one opinion and leave with a total different 180-degree change in the perceptions they had about the valley and the valley's issues prior to coming and after they left on a Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely, a whole range of issues: healthcare, international border security, other more local issues, bridge crossings, infrastructure, you name it. Those issues that affect the Rio Grande Valley, once they see it for themselves, they have a different opinion.
So what are going to be the issues that you think you're going to try to impress upon the state senators and state representatives coming down in January at the beginning of the next session of the Texas legislature?
I think much of that will be determined over the next several months as we hear from our local delegation. Of course, they're responding to their local constituents, and we'll be hearing from them what issues that they need to champion in the upcoming legislative session. Of course, too, we'll take input from our members of the organization as far as which issues they see affecting their industry and their communities.
Well, good luck in that initiative, and anyone who's watching the program wants to contact you, they can do so at the Valley Partnership number, and that's on the bottom of the screen now, or you can go to the website also, which is also at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you for allowing Beth to come in also. She's an outstanding young woman.
She truly is,
Yes.
and she really showed her colors and her mettle during the legislative tour when you
Right.
were losing it on
Yeah.
a number of occasions. That
Yes,
is
yes.
probably the most stressful time that I've seen you trying to do something, because
It is.
that's really a hard job you do, and it truly is, Bill, the most powerful thing that the partnership does for the region, in my opinion,
I think
especially during the legislative session. It's so important.
I think it's brought a lot of good notoriety to the valley because of them. I remember the first time I went up to Austin, somebody introduced me. I'm from the valley, and the state rep that they introduced me to said, "The valley, where's the valley?" But
Didn't have a clue.
right, but now every one of them know.
Now, you had said that this was going to be your last year at the partnership as president and CEO.
Right.
Is that still the case? I mean, what's
Well,
these walls are going to collapse when you walk out
well,
the door.
no, but I don't think my wife's going to let me retire. She don't want me hanging around the house all the time. I'd drive her nuts.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
yeah, yeah.
fantastic
Yeah.
news. You heard it first.
But it depends on my board, Maybe they might think I'm
they've
too
already,
old.
already figured out.
They might think
Who
48 is too old, so.
Thank you for watching us. Till next time, adios.